Yo te extrañaré, tenlo por seguro. Fueron tantos bellos y malos momentos.
It is August 9th. It is now 6 months since I guess life kind of changed. Last time I filmed something was in, I want to say January. And it's because like ever since then things have been kind of rocky. So I flew back home, I want to say like in the beginning of January, I think. It was right before the presidential inauguration. That's all I remember. And I left both of my parents back home, you know, back where they're from. When me and my mom had left, she had left her job, and so she didn't really plan on working when she came back. And my dad had plans to stay a little bit longer over there since they had a few more things to finish up. And so I told her, you know, if you're not going to come, you know, work, like what are you gonna come and do if you're just gonna like lock yourself in the house, you know, because of COVID and everything. Like I'm gonna be busy with work and with school, so like you're, you know, kind of just gonna be home alone, so like why don't you just, you know, stay here with dad and, you know, kind of finish up whatever you guys have to finish up and then fly back home when you're done. Everything was fine. You know, I had started the semester. It was my birthday week. I had a retreat with some friends, and you know, everything was going good at the end of, you know, January, and then came February. And you know, like I mentioned, you know, I was going to work, I was going to school, so everything was going, you know, as planned. And then I remember one day I was in a class, I think it was one of my psychology courses, and my cousin's group chat, you know, started to go off, and I started to read the messages, and it turned out that one of my aunts was taken to the hospital with some complications. And that same morning, my mom had told me that they had taken my dad to the clinic because he wasn't feeling too good. And we had talked a little bit before then about my dad kind of having like chills or kind of having fevers. And like I told my mom since the beginning, you know, if my dad had fevers, to take him to the clinic to get checked out because it could be the virus, you know. And they had bought him some antibiotics, and they said that they were going to try to give him some of those and see if he felt better, and if not, that they were going to take him to the clinic. And so it was literally the day that we got news that my aunt was in the hospital here. I think they had taken her overnight. The morning when they told us was also when my mom told me that they had taken my dad to the doctor. And I think they told him he had some sort of like pneumonia. And at first I didn't really like worry about it, because my dad was the type of person to like never ever get sick. I mean, in my whole life, really, I don't really think I ever saw my dad sick. I remember hearing him from time to time say that he wasn't feeling good, that his stomach was kind of like turning, but like I never ever heard him sneeze or cough. And so like in the back of my mind, you know, everything was going to be okay. And so I guess I was just in a very confusing place at the time because I had started a new job, or I was looking for a new job, because when, you know, me and my mom left, she, as I mentioned, you know, before I quit her job, and I was under her insurance plan, and so I came back being uninsured, and I knew that I had to get a full-time job with benefits so that I could get those healthcare privileges. And so as I'm looking for a job, a full-time job. I'm still, working at a job that I have now, or that I had at the time. Going to school, and everything again was kind of fine at first. I had trust in, I guess, the world that like my dad was going to get better again, because I've never really seen him sick. And I think he just wasn't feeling better. And I think it got to the point where he was starting to have trouble breathing. And that's when my mom got a little bit more worried, and so she took him again to another hospital, where they told him he had coronavirus. And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, don't even worry about it. Me and you got coronavirus right before we left last November, because my mom got sick like right after her birthday. I got sick right before finals. And I remember feeling horrible, working on these projects that I had to turn in for classes. My mom was asymptomatic, so we didn't even think that she had the virus, because she did get tested and she tested positive. But we thought maybe they had given her the wrong results, because she felt perfectly fine, and my mom has always been very delicate when it comes to getting sick. And then I got sick right after her, and I had, pretty much all the symptoms: chills, fever, loss of smell, loss of taste. And I told her, I was like, you know what, Dad literally never gets sick, he's gonna be perfectly fine. And I think truly in my heart, I thought everything was gonna be okay. But things didn't get better. And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, if you need me to come over there, I will fly back. All my classes are online, so I can definitely try to take classes online and help you out with, taking Dad to the hospitals, taking Dad to the clinics, helping him get what he needs. But there was some part of me that knew that I probably couldn't handle that, because classes this semester were just a little bit more difficult. I was already struggling. And as you guys saw in my previous videos, when I was back over there, the mosquitoes were just eating me up. And just thinking about having to deal with the heat, having to deal with the mosquitoes, having to worry about class, having to worry about my dad. I feel in my mind, I thought it was going to be too much. And again, I had just started a new job, where I was looking for a job, and then I got contacted about one, and I was hired. And my mom she told me, she was like, if you get hired for this job, don't worry about coming. If things get worse and Dad is gonna need more help, then we're gonna need more financial help, so it's gonna be good that you stay over there and work. And I was like, okay. So I started to work a weekend warehouse job, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It was 12 hours, and it was basically the only job I could find that worked with my school schedule at the time. And I was there for 2 weekends. I had already finished one weekend of work, and I had started on the second one. And by this point, they had moved my dad from a normal clinic to a COVID recovery clinic, because the 2 days that he was at a hospital clinic, they had charged us around $45,000 in our money's currency, which is a crazy amount. And the COVID recovery clinic was free. We just had to, I guess give my dad what he needed. So my mom was running around, taking him water, taking him any type of thing he would need, toothbrushes, toothpaste, stuff like that. And it was hard for her because we kind of had to keep things on the DL about what was going on with my dad, because we were afraid that if people found out that my dad was sick with COVID, that nobody would help my mom, especially because like she didn't drive over there. She would need people to take her places. And yeah, so I was on my second weekend of work. It was Saturday night. I had just gotten off at 6. I went to go pick up food. I would call my mom every single day to see how things were, to see how my dad was doing. And this Saturday that I called her, something was just a little different about her tone. And I noticed it immediately. And I told her, I was like, hey mom, like, how's dad doing? And she said, well, of course she answered in Spanish. She was like, well, tu papá está malito. And I was like, yeah, I know, but like, is he getting better? Is he getting worse? And she was like, well, he's still doing just about the same. And I was like, honestly, mom, like, that's all that matters. Again, I told her, I was like, dad usually never gets sick. We both, fought this virus. He's gonna be okay, because I truly thought in my heart that he was gonna be okay. And I remember that night I got home because I had gone to go get dinner. And I think there was like a new episode of Drag Race, and this episode focused on like how the cast filmed with COVID. And I don't know if the episode was very emotional or if I was just feeling very emotional, but I remember crying through the whole episode. And that's kind of how, and like, especially, during this time when I was alone, like I tried to keep myself busy, and I, was pretty busy with school and with work. And in the back of my head, I was just like, you know what, if you focus on school, things are going to get better, because technically after last semester, I could have been able to participate in graduation, to participate in the ceremony. And, in the back of my head, I was like, you know what, just focus on work, focus on school, sign up to participate in graduation ceremony so that, dad can, like witness that, so that he can be proud, so that he can have something to look forward to as well. And then came Sunday, the 28th of February, which was my last work day of the week. I was, doing what I do at work, and I was on my last 15-minute break. It was at 4. I went to the break room with my cousin because we were working together, and I remember pulling out my phone and seeing a message from my sister that said like, hey, call me or something like that, but then she was like, oh, never mind. I was like, okay, that's weird, I'll just call her when I'm off work. And then it was like 5 minutes before my break was over, I got a message from one of my cousins. And I read it. It was one of my cousins from back home. And I read it, and like, something about it just didn't seem right to me. And I called her, and she answered crying, and I was like, hey, like, what's wrong? And I think she just kept saying like, I'm sorry. And I was like, what's wrong? Like, is everything okay? And she's like, you haven't heard. And I was like, no, what's going on? And she was like, your dad just passed away. And like, in that moment, everything kind of just stopped, and I could feel like my heartbeat, and like I can feel the blood like pumping through my body. My ears started ringing, my head felt very lightweight. I felt like I was floating. And like, I don't, that's just, it's the best way I can describe what I was feeling in the moment. And I was just like, oh, like, okay, let me call you back. And I hung up, and like my first instinct was to call my sister, and I called her and I was like, hey, I need you to sit down. And she's like, what's going on? And I was like, our cousin just called me telling me that dad passed away. And she was like, yeah, I know. My mom, told me. And I was kind of confused and kind of thrown off. I was like, why am I the last one to find out? And she was like, yeah, like, my mom called me and our other sister and like told us what had happened, but told us not to tell you until you got off work because we didn't want to like stress you out. And I was just like, okay. I was like, I'm going home. I was like, let me talk to the supervisor. I'll be home like as soon as I can. And she was like, are you okay to drive? And I was like, yeah, I'm okay to drive. And so I hung up. I told the supervisor what was going on. Right before I told him, I like went out to the bedroom to get my cousin, and I told her to come inside. And I just shook my head, and like she already knew. I think they had also told her, but they had told her not to tell me. And so like, we kind of just hugged each other for a bit, and then we told our supervisor we were leaving. We got into my car, and even she asked me if I was okay to drive, and I was like, yeah, I need to do something to get my mind off what is going on in my mind, because a million things were going on in my mind. Then I started driving home, and like on the way home there was only like one thing I could think about, and that was my dog. Because like my dad and him got along so well, and it's like, like in the back of my mind, I was just like, how am I gonna tell my dog that like his best friend isn't gonna come back home? And so again, that's like the only thing going on in my head. I get home with my cousin, we park our car. I see both of my sister's cars here already. My door's open, and so I was still, kind of fine. But then we, start walking closer to the door, and all I hear are my sisters crying, and like my niece crying. And I was like, no, I can't do this. And I couldn't even walk into the house. I just broke down right in front of my porch. Okay, I just started breaking down on my porch, and my niece came out, and she came, to hug me, and then my sisters came out, and it was just like a lot to handle, because I feel like that's when it actually did hit me. That stuff really wasn't okay. And I remember once I got into the house, I was just like, give me a minute. And I went to the backyard. Because I wanted to see my dog. Fuck. And I just remember hugging him and being like, I'm sorry. I was like, I'm sorry, but like, Dad's not coming home. And I just started, like, bawling my eyes out. And then before I knew it, my sister was out there. My two cousins had showed up too, and they came out. And, kind of just started comforting us. And then the whole evening, basically, we just had, you know, people coming over to the house and asking how we were doing. They were bringing us food. And this whole time, I'm just like, what am I gonna do? And like, what is my mom doing alone? You know, like, this must be so hard for her. And I feel like even now, you know, 6 months after everything has happened, it still like eats away at me, because like in the back of my head, I'm kind of like, I'm like, you could have been there, you know? Like, you could have been there for mom at a time when she needed you most. But like, I was too selfish thinking about what I needed to do for myself. Like, I know I probably shouldn't think that way, but like, it's hard not to. And like, again, you know, even 6 months after everything has happened, my mind kind of still struggles to, you know, process, you know, why nobody had told me, or why my mom didn't tell me that my dad's condition was getting worse. But then I think about it, and I can't fathom to even begin to understand how a mother can tell her child that their dad is dying. You know, like, how is my mom gonna tell me that? And then I think about it and I'm like, you know what, I don't blame her, because that seems like one of the hardest things. It seems like one of the hardest things a person can do. And so again, you know, that whole Sunday evening, my head is just tossing. And as much as I appreciated, you know, people coming over and asking me how we're doing, I really just wanted to be alone. Because again, my mind couldn't process what was happening. And it wasn't until late at night, when I had a moment to be alone, I called my best friend. And I told him, I was like, I just need you to hear me out. I don't need you to tell me anything. I don't need you to comfort me. I don't need any feedback about what's going on. Like, I just need you to sit and listen while I break down. Because I feel like I have always been one of the type of people who comes off as really, like, strong-minded, as really tough. And for those of you who know me, you know that that's how my personality is. I act like nothing phases me. I act like I'm all tough, but like, I feel like I'm an empath because I really feel everything very deeply. I feel my emotions very deeply, and I feel other people's emotions very deeply. And so, like, you know, I called him and I was like, I just need you to, like, listen to what I'm going to tell you. And I told him, I was like, my dad just died, and like, I can't even begin to process or even explain what I'm feeling. And I just had like a mental breakdown over the phone, an anxiety attack. I remember bawling my eyes out. I remember not even really being able to breathe. I was running out of breath. And he was, you know, just on the line, and he was speechless. He really didn't know what to say. And then he got a little bit emotional himself. And then he told me, he was like, is there anything I can do? Like, do you need me to come over? And I was like, no, like, it's okay. I have to go visit my aunt, my dad's sister, and see how she's doing, because she had just gotten the news as well. And then I have to pack, you know, because I wasn't going to stay here. And that night, you know, I went to go visit my aunt, and she was definitely not okay. She definitely felt my dad's passing the heaviest. And then that night, I remember I came home, and like, I needed sleep, you know, because I had just gotten off of almost a 12-hour shift. And then the next morning, I woke up, and I got into contact with the university because I had to, you know, drop my classes. So I needed to take a break from school. And that whole process was just really fucked up, and I'll kind of explain a little bit more later of why. I had to drive all the way to Tahoe to get a COVID test done because, again, I was uninsured and I couldn't find anywhere here that would give me one with rapid results. I had to like FaceTime to attend my dad's funeral. And like start packing. It was just that Monday after was just a really hectic time. I had bought my plane ticket on Monday. I spent all of Tuesday morning getting everything ready. Giving my sisters, my cousins, keys to the house so that they could come and like watch it while I left. I spent it packing everything. I spent, most of it packing everything else that I needed. And then I flew out Tuesday at like 4 p.m. Made a stop in LA and got a plane in LA like around 11 p.m. and then got back home around 6 in the morning on Wednesday. And that whole time, like, I didn't really tell anybody what was happening. Because I didn't want to feel overwhelmed with people, texting me or calling me. Again, I needed time to process. But I think one of the saddest things about when someone passes is that, like, the world doesn't stop for you to process what's happening. The world keeps turning, and life kind of just expects you to, like, roll with the punches and keep on doing what you've been doing normally on the daily. But that's not how, I guess, life works. And so, my mom had to find somebody to take her to the Capitol to pick me up since, they lived in a town like 3 to 4 hours away from the Capitol. And I moved away, basically for about a month. I was over there helping my mom figure out some stuff. And as I'm, trying to face the reality of being back home and my dad not being there, I still have to worry about like the whole university process. And I think this is the part that's like most fucked up, was that in order for me to, file to drop out or like drop my classes from UNR, I had to submit a whole bunch of like paperwork. I had to write like a letter of intent explaining what's going on. They needed supplemental evidence. And so I literally had to like take time out of my day, the week of my dad's passing, to type out what's happening and to scan my dad's death certificate as supplemental evidence to send to them. And I just think that's really fucked up. I don't think that I even deserved to look at that document so early on of the week of his passing. I mean, I think I definitely wanted to see it eventually, but like not so soon. I think it's crazy because the whole experience of me being away for about a month was crazy. It was that I probably want to say it was the hardest month of my life, because there was just so many things going on. The one thing that still surprises me to this day is that as I was over there for that whole month, while I was at home, the mosquitoes did not bite me. And I think that was a sign, and it still continues to be a sign that like my dad is still with me no matter what, because like, again, if you guys have seen my previous videos, you guys have seen how many mosquito bites I got. And the fact that this time going over, like, basically none of them got me while I was at home, I think that is just something that's crazy to even think about. Not everything was good while I was over there. For one of my family members had started a GoFundMe in order for us to help pay for my dad's expenses while he was living. And it got hacked. Somebody had gotten onto the account, had put themselves as a beneficiary, and like the last step was for them to send, I think, like a copy of their ID, so that they could withdraw the funds. And I expected, this family member to take charge of that, and they didn't. And that was really stressing me out. And my dad, had left some things over there as well, and so how that was going to be distributed into all of his kids was also something that was stressing me out. It was something that was stressing my mom out. There was a lot of family drama as well. While I was over there, I probably experienced one of the biggest family fights that has happened, I guess, between my immediate family. And I think that was the second time that I ever broke down, because the events that occurred that night stressed me out so much that, again, I called my best friend crying, having another panic attack, barely being able to breathe, telling him that I couldn't do this anymore. And I think the next day, I got my family together and I told them, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to go back home. This is not healthy for me. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I need to go get help. Whether that's seeing some sort of therapist, or whether that's just like locking myself in my room for a week just to process what's happening. Like, I'm not okay and I need to go back home. And then I flew out, I think, the next weekend. And when I came back home, I was able to figure out my dad's GoFundMe situation. I was able to send thank you messages to the people who had donated. And if you're watching this and you donated, I want you guys to know that I am super grateful for you. It's crazy to think that I have people around me who care for me enough to, donate to something that was going towards somebody who meant so much to me. So again, I want to thank you guys so much. I feel like as time has gone on, I've needed to find things that keep me going. I think music has definitely helped me, I guess, keep going. Music has been the one thing that has kept me sane. On my way back home, I think Taylor had just released Fearless, Taylor's version, and I remember listening to that all the way home, because it would keep my mind off of things. It would keep my mind busy, and even now, 6 months later, I was just waiting for Billy's album to come out, because I was so excited. And I feel like that was one of the things that was keeping me sane. One of the things that was keeping me here was just like wanting to see, what she was going to do next. Because I feel like when things like this happen to somebody, it's really easy to kind of just give up, or just like not really want to keep existing. But like Happier Than Ever, kind of kept me in my seat, waiting for me to see what she's going to bring to the table. And as soon as I got back home, I had a week to myself. I had a week to figure out what was going on around the house. I had a week to clean up, because my mom was gonna fly back the week after I did. My mom got back. Things were still just as hard, coming back home, not with my dad. We both got full-time jobs as soon as we could. We both started working. At first, I didn't really want my mom to work, but she said that working was going to keep her mind occupied, and that she was afraid that if she stayed home, that she was going to fall into depression. And who am I to tell her not to do what she thinks is best for her, right? We started working together, and yeah, even still now, I'm still working full-time. Still hoping to get that health insurance at some point. Now I'm in charge of a whole bunch of other responsibilities, a whole bunch of different expenses, of bills around the house. And again, even 6 months after things are still hard, there are times when I want to, even after 6 months, it's still hard because I feel like there are times when I want to express my emotions, when I want to talk to somebody about it, but I feel like I don't really have a person at the moment who I can truly let into what I'm thinking. And I mean, times like this, you kind of wish you could go to like one of your parents, to cry to and to, have them comfort you and tell you everything's gonna be okay. But I can't really do that, because I feel like that's kind of selfish of me because, this is a very traumatic experience, not only for me, but especially for my mom. And so I just don't think it's fair to her for me to go to her, being super emotional because like, especially, when she's doing good, I would hate for my emotions to cause her pain, cause her hurt. But it sucks because like, I remember when I was little or when I was growing up, my parents would always tell me that like, los amigos no existen, that, friends don't exist, that the only people who are ever going to want what's best for you are your parents. And I completely agree with that. Even though me and my dad didn't always agree on things when I was growing up, even though we were very different people, even though at times I was frustrated with him for not understanding the person who I was or who I am, I always did believe in my heart, and I still believe in my heart that my dad and my mom, always wanted what was best for me. And I think that's one of the hardest things of this whole experience is knowing that like one of the only two people in the world who were always going to want what's best for me is no longer here. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And like, things are still hard. It was about like maybe a month ago, I had gotten sick, and I think it was the flu. But like I had fevers for about a week. I was in pain. But like, I kept going to work because I was like, I just can't stop, like things around need to get paid. I have expenses. But I remember I did have to like miss or call out of work like twice. And then I had to go to the urgent care to see what was going on. And like that was a whole another expense that I had to take care of. But then it was just, I think for once in my life, I kind of got a glimpse of how hard being an adult can be. When you miss out of 2 days of work, but then you have an expense to pay because of why you missed those 2 days of work. So it's like, I mean, in those 2 days I missed out of like $200 of my paycheck. And then the cost of the antibiotics that the doctor gave me plus the cost of going to urgent care was like more than $200. So I was like, wow, this is literally why like people stress out and freak out, about healthcare and about what it's like being an adult, especially in the US when things are a little bit more difficult. And so yeah, when I got sick, not only did I get sick, like my body kind of shut down, but like my mind was constantly thinking about like, holy shit, like what if you have COVID? And I did go get tested for COVID and I came out negative, thankfully. But like in the back of my head, I'm just like, you can go in any moment. And if you go, like what's gonna happen to mom? And so apart from me getting like physically sick, I was having these like very negative thoughts. But it's like, how am I not gonna have those negative thoughts when I just went through something very traumatic a few months ago? It's hard not to have these kind of negative thoughts. And it's been vice versa as well. My mom is actually just getting over being sick as well. And at some point she, I think she had gotten some sort of like neck cramp or something, but like it would hurt when she swallowed. And I remember kind of just like holding her hand, because it hurt her, so much, and she just started crying, and she was just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do if I get sick. I don't have insurance yet. And it's, again, it's hard to see when your parents feel that way, especially because, like, I know in her mind she's thinking about, my dad and how fast his passing was, and how scary it must be for her, to know that she can go just as fast as he did. And so I think we both related on that aspect where now, when one of us gets sick, or when, somebody else gets sick, it's very easy for us to start having these type of negative thoughts and to think that, people leave this world just as fast as they come in. So yeah, I kind of wanted to sit in front of a camera and kind of just talk about how I feel, talk about how things have been. Not because I feel like I need to put out content, but because I feel like I need to. I felt like I needed to voice what I was feeling. Again, because I mentioned not really feeling like I have that one person there for me to talk to who's gonna understand, but because I feel like I just needed to let out everything that I have been feeling over the past, few months. And so, again, it's been 6 months since everything has happened, but the world doesn't stop turning. I'm starting school back again in about 2 weeks. I have been at a new job now for almost about a month, and yeah, I feel like all of the time and all of the energy that I have in me at the moment, I have used towards keeping myself up. I have used towards help keeping my mom up as well, because I feel like I know that I still have, if God permits, a few more maybe decades left to live. But parents get older, and I feel like with something as traumatic as, my dad's passing, it's really easy for my mom to shut down, and I feel like I almost have to take it upon myself to, like, help her fall back in love with being alive, at the same time as I have to, do that with myself. I feel like I have to look for, like I said, music has kept me sane. I feel like I have to look for things that keep me feeling alive, keep me looking forward to seeing what else life has set for me. And like that being said, I think I'm ready to, again, start sharing my story with you guys. I saw this post at some point a few months ago that said it's okay to disappear until you're okay. And I felt like I needed to see that, because I really do feel like I needed time to process things that were happening. I feel like I needed time to just have time to think about what I want to do in the future, how I'm going to go about life from now on. But again, I started my channel because I wanted to share my life with you, and this is a big part of my life. I think it took me so long to film a video about, explaining why I kind of disappeared for 6 months, because I wasn't sure if it was something I wanted to share with the world, because it's a very personal experience. But at the same time, I am not going to be the same person I was 6 months ago. Because again, this is the kind of event that happens in somebody's life that changes them forever. And so I just thought it would be weird for me to go from what you guys saw 6 months ago to who I am now, because I don't know, I just feel like I'm a very different person. I see the world differently. So again, I'm not only doing this for myself, I'm doing this so that people understand why I am the person I am now. I feel like I have shut a lot of people out that maybe didn't deserve it, but I also do think that I cut people off that didn't deserve my friendship to begin with. And that's not something that, again, I didn't realize, that I didn't see in front of my eyes until something very traumatic happened to me. And so for those of you who have, reached out to me, once you found out what was going on, again, I want to tell you, I appreciate you so, so much, because it's people like you who have kept me alive. People who have checked on me, every day, people who have checked on me every few weeks, people who reached out to me when I got back home. You guys are the people who have shown me what true love is, who have shown me what true friendship is, and I just want to let you know that I appreciate you so much. And so yeah, if you guys took the time to listen to why I again disappeared, if you watched this whole video, I also appreciate you, because as much as this isn't an easy thing for me to talk about, I'm pretty sure it's not an easy thing for people to listen to. And again, I really just felt like I needed to let out what I was thinking, whether or not somebody was going to watch it or not. I really again I feel like I did this more for myself than I did for any type of views or content. Again, I just feel like I needed to let out emotions, to let out these feelings, to let out my thoughts that I've had, bottled up for the past 6 months. And yeah, I know it's not going to be easy moving forward. It hasn't gotten any easier since then, since everything happened. But again, as I mentioned before, life doesn't stop. The world keeps turning. And you kind of, have to roll with the punches. And as much as I am sad about what happened, I know that I have to keep on looking forward with a positive mindset. That's why I feel like I am ready to let you guys back into, again, my life and my story. So yeah, I am going to go and continue doing me, to continue living. I'm not sure when I'll be filming another video. I mean, it was already hard enough for me to, place the camera in front of me, turn it on, and to even start filming, because it's been so long since I've been in front of a camera. It's been months since I've probably even posted a picture on social media. I think the only people who have really even seen me are those people who have, reached out to me to hang out, or sometimes when I post something on like one of my close friends' story or something like that. But yeah, I'm going to go and do me, and I will see you guys soon.
Pero yo nunca pensé que doliera tanto. Ya no llores por mí. Yo estoy en un lugar lleno de luz, donde existe paz, donde no hay maldad, donde puedo descansar. No llores por mí. Es tan bello aquí. Calma y quiero que seas feliz, que te vaya bien. Y cuando te toque partir, espero verte aquí. Yo te extrañaré.